In ancient Greece, there lived a man named Thales. Once a wealthy merchant, his life had unraveled after a series of bad investments and personal misfortunes. His family had abandoned him, his friends had turned cold, and he wandered the streets of Athens, miserable, blaming the gods and cursing his fate. One day, as he wandered through the agora, he overheard a rumor about a hermit named Cleon, living in the hills near Delphi. They said Cleon was a wise man, one who spoke little but offered life-changing advice to those willing to listen. Desperate for any solution, Thales embarked on a journey to find this mysterious hermit. After days of travel, he found Cleon living in a simple cave, surrounded by the barest of possessions: a worn cloak, a small fire, and a few clay bowls. Cleon welcomed him without words, offering him a place to sit by the fire. For a long time, they sat in silence until Thales, unable to hold back his despair, began to pour out his story. He spoke of the wealth he had lost, the betrayals he had endured, and the unfairness of the world. Cleon listened patiently but said nothing. Finally, when Thales had exhausted himself, Cleon spoke. "You suffer because you think your suffering is unique, but suffering is the common lot of man. You have allowed fortune to shape your happiness, and fortune by her nature is fickle. What should I do then?" Thales asked, desperate for a way out. Cleon stood, pointing to the horizon where the sun was setting. "You cannot control the rising or setting of the sun, nor can you control the whims of fate, but you can control how you respond. Stop chasing after what you cannot hold, and focus on what is always within your grasp: your mind, your judgment, your actions. That is where true freedom lies." For days, Thales stayed with Cleon, learning the teachings of the Stoics. He learned to accept loss without bitterness, to face hardship with resilience, and to find peace in the knowledge that only his own virtue was truly his to command. The more he practiced this new way of thinking, the lighter he felt. The burdens of his past no longer weighed him down. When he finally returned to Athens, Thales was no longer the broken man who had wandered the streets in despair. His fortunes had not changed. He was still poor, his family still distant, but he was at peace. He now understood that external wealth, friends, and fortune were never his to control. What mattered was the calm within his soul, the mastery of his own mind. In time, people began to notice the change in him. They asked how he had found peace despite his circumstances. And though he was not a man of many words, Thales would offer them the same advice Cleon had given him. Control what is yours to control, and let the rest pass like the wind. Thus, the man who once cursed his life became an example of Stoic virtue, and his misery faded into wisdom.